You're listening to the 12 Days of Crusademas 2024, brought to you by the Longbox Crusade.
Shadowman.
Hello and welcome to the 5th day of the 12 Days of Crusademas for 2024, brought to you by the Longbox Crusade. The 12 Days of Crusademas is our gift to the podcast community to celebrate the holiday season. And we're celebrating this joyous season by sharing with you some comic book titles that may have gotten by you in the past. Each of the 12 Days of Crusademas will bring you a hidden gem of a comic series, brought to you either by one of our Holly Jolly co-hosts or one of our podcast celebrity guests, until we get all the way to December 25th, Christmas Day, Pat's favorite day. Well, woo-hoo. Yeah, that's right. Till then, I'm your host for this 5th day of Crusademas, Jason the Christmas Weasel, and here are 3 ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future joining me for today's unwrapping. You know, if we go with the Ghost of Christmas Past, I guess I got to go with Jared's, and he's the one that I've known the longest from my past. So Jared, Death Probe, Merry Christmas. How are you? I'm expecting that we have some sort of joke or something. The floor is yours, sir.
All right. It is Christmas time, and I was off doing some stuff in another part of the country, so I had to catch flight to be here for this recording tonight. I'm glad I made it. While I was at the airport, picking up my baggage at the baggage carousel, I looked to my right, and it's appropriate. It's Christmas time. It's Tim Allen, who was in like 3 Santa Claus movies. I was like, holy crap, it's Tim Allen, right? The lady next to me must have been a big fan. She's like, Tim Allen. She passes out, blop, falls right on the baggage carousel. But it all worked out because she came around slowly.
Ghost of Christmas Pat. I should have gone with you and called you the Ghost of Christmas Pat.
She came around slowly.
I know.
She passed out on the carousel.
Jared, I'm trying to give you an opportunity to back out with your dignity.
I was like, what does this have to do with Tim Allen?
Yeah.
I took you down a path, and then I turned a corner. All right.
I was so busy. I was like,
It's coming around the corner.
That's how easily distracted I was. I wasn't thinking about the joke. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, he stopped? What's it?
All right. Pat, I'm going to go with you next because I know you got a better joke or something, or Chat GPT's got a better joke or a story. I think we had
actually, all you get is Pat this time around right now. And, it's just straight up Pat. That's what you're going to get. It's just straight up. And tell me what you really want from me.
Oh, taking a shot at Pat straight?
Yeah, straight up and tell me.
That's illegal in 10 states.
No, I'm getting things ready for Christmas. I'm hoping that we can get all the Christmas lights done. Jared said he was flying off somewhere, was coming back with some special Christmas lights and all that. So, Jared, I didn't know if they made it through that carousel. Did they come back around? Were you able to grab them?
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
Good. So we got that going for us now. Yep. It's working on us. I know Mary Jane had asked me to check on Delvin and just say something about how things are going. Chocolate fountain, is it ready? I don't know what needs to be done with it. And she said if I needed to, I might have to, clean it up, shine it up. But I said, hey, that's not for me.
The chocolate fountain's always ready.
Okay, I will let her know. I figured it is, but so we got that going.
It isn't Christmas without the chocolate fountain.
It's a Christmas favorite, really. It's a staple around here. That's where we get the hot cocoa from. Sometimes,
that's right.
As we sit around the fireplace drinking it. But anyway, yeah, things are going good. We got things going. So I'm expecting some other stuff to come. So stick around.
All right. I mean, don't make Mary Jane get involved. If she comes by and those lights aren't up, you know what's going to happen.
I know. That's why I'm trying to do things a day ahead of time. That way I keep ahead of her.
All right. Well, speaking of chocolate fountains and our Ghost of Christmas future, let's turn it over to Delvin the Dark Web Williams. Happy holidays, my friend. The floor is yours.
Merry Christmas to you, Jason. And just to quickly just riff off of Pat's thing, like I don't know, like if you've ever listened to any pop song or some song and you're wondering, what are they talking about? What are they referencing? They're making this weird reference. I don't really know what it's about. It's usually drugs. So like if there's like a reference to Pat, swim caps, short, maybe I said too much. You know what? Forget I said that. Siri, delete that comment. I'm going to go with mine. For my birthday this year, my wife, beautiful woman that she is, gave me a Transformers Energon Universe version of Unicron. And it's awesome. It's a Unicron and it transforms to a planet. And you can attach other things that could be in its orbit and stuff. And I'm telling you this. I am telling you all this to say the ante is raised when it comes to Christmas presents for ye old dark web. I'm telling you, I got to get a spaceship from you mofos or something, or the actual Unicron that was $750 or whatever. It's okay if you guys can't afford it. I am absolutely willing as LBC treasurer to just take it out of the funds and go ahead and purchase it for the team. It'll be at my place on, in my man room, but it's for the team. And you guys can visit it anytime that you want to visit it, provided that Miranda isn't asleep or it isn't a Tuesday or Wednesday or any day between Thursday and Sunday. Other than that, you guys can come and visit anytime that you want to. It's the spirit of Christmas.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is. There is. It is Christmas time. Miracles do occur.
I can say with absolute certainty that we are going to get you the nicest GoBot available.
That's right.
Unicron is not a GoBot.
Not the small one, Delvin's. The bigger size ones that they made. Yeah.
It's not.
What's that one that had the cone head thing?
Leader one?
Leader one's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, Leader one. I guess.
Motorcycle guy.
Cyclone.
Cyclone. Yeah,
Leader one's the only one that anyone can think of.
I said Cyclone.
There's Cyclone or Cykill?
Cykill. Yeah, Cykill. Yeah.
No one believes you guys. Just stop lying with your made up words.
Apparently, this year the role of Weasel Skull will be played by Dark Web as he's trying to get big, expensive Christmas presents. But hey, it worked for me, so maybe it'll work for him too. Unicron! All right. Well, he's been patient, and it is time to introduce today's guest. And joining us today around the fireplace is Crusaders Club member and last-minute pinch hitter, Matt Paisso. Welcome, Matt, and thanks for joining us for day 5.
Merry Christmas, gentlemen. It's great to be here.
All right. So I see you brought a little Christmas stocking there. What do you have wrapped up in it?
Well, I can't, show up to Crusademas without a gift, so I thought I'd bring one of my favorites for you guys. I brought for you today Shadowman number 10.
Nice. All right, Shadowman number 10. I'm pretty sure probably half of us read it at least, so in our parlance, that's a show. And why don't you give us a brief history of the series and creators?
Well, let me settle down by the fire real quick and take my mug with hot cocoa in it and drink it from Shadowman's head while I am dressed in my Shadowman t-shirt, completely 100% festive, ready to go. So Shadowman, if you don't know, he's a hero in the Valiant universe. His real name is Jack Boniface. He's a New Orleans jazz musician, and he became Shadowman after being attacked one night and was saved by an unknown force. After that, he started finding himself become a little more comfortable with the night, a little stronger, a little more crazed, a little more unhinged. He pretty much went from jazz musician to a vigilante. Think Batman without the money, but set in New Orleans and has voodoo powers. Jack and the Shadowman are also a little at odds at times over who's in control of the situation. So Shadowman was created back in 1992 for Valiant by Jim Shooter, Steve Englehart, and David Lapham. You guys may know some of those names, but issue 10 is where Bob Hall takes over. So are those names familiar to any of you guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's some good people involved in this. So the first few issues were handled by a various team, And around issue 8 is where they introduced his big bad Master Dark, who you see in this issue.
This was an interesting read, and we'll definitely get into it more. But for right now, why don't you give us some reasons why you brought this book? What makes you love it so much? You're wearing a t-shirt and everything. So I know you're not just a casual reader.
Growing up in the South, most comic books, as people are aware, take place in either Gotham, Metropolis, big cities. So whenever I saw a character that's set in Louisiana, I was kind of drawn right away to that. I liked horror. I like spooky things. So I saw it mentioned in Wizard Magazine. People might be familiar with that if you were around in this time. And it kind of makes you go, what's this all about? That being set in Louisiana is what really hooked me on this book. So it was cool to see characters that were from around areas that I've been to, could go to. So Shadowman, Gambit, just good old boys from Louisiana. The character has come back many times over the years because if you're aware of comic history, Valiant happened, it got hot, faded out, then came back and faded out, and came back and faded out. And it's back again-ish. So he's shown up multiple times, and every time I see him, I'm buying the issues. I am seeing what they've done, how they've updated his story. So have any of you read any Shadowman comics before? Jared?
When I finish this one, it'll be my first one. Just give me a minute.
Okay, sounds good. Pat, what about you? Have you read any Shadowman before?
I actually just got done reading it while you were talking, and no, that I haven't read it before.
Okay. Delvin, what about you, sir? Have you read Shadowman?
Guys, you're embarrassing us. I finished it 5 minutes before the show. So no, before then I haven't read it.
All right. Jason, any Shadowman history for you?
Hold on. Yeah, I've read one.
Excellent. So I believe, would this be a reading rainbow for you gentlemen then?
I believe so.
It is a reading rainbow. Last minute rainbow.
I'm glad I could bring something new for Christmas and not give you guys something you've already seen before. So that's pretty great.
I know one guy that brings a whole bunch of Spider-Man. We're trying to get rid of him.
We've all obviously read this. I mean, this is a professional organization and we always come prepared. But, maybe if you gave us a quick summary of this issue, it might be helpful.
Oh, no, I can do that. I can do that easily because I know sometimes you read a lot of comics. Things get buried. Understandable. So Shadowman, issue number 10, it was released in February 1993. I realize that's like 30 years ago.
No need for that. No need for all that.
I did not like that realization.
This is a podcast. There's no room for reality here. Thank you.
All right. So it was released about 5 weeks ago. And what you see when you open the issue, you see Jack, or Shadowman, beating down some thugs. He is heading off to have a one-night stand, and he wakes up after an awkward conversation with his lady friend. He heads out, but gets kidnapped by Marty, who was supposed to be his friend, and a zombie. Jack tries to fight back, but sun's out. So no night, no powers. The Shadowman. What we find out in a little side window is that Master Dark, our big bad, is talking with his sister. And Master Dark has been sacrificing people to gain powers, and he kind of wants Shadowman to be on his list of sacrifices. Oh, remember how I mentioned voodoo? Master Dark, the really pale, floaty guy with tattoos all over himself? Yeah, he's the voodoo guy. His sister, though, Sandria, isn't so sure that Dark should be doing this. This issue is also her first appearance. So if you like first appearances, hang on to it. What we find out, though, is Jack wakes up and finds out that his best friend and the zombie have taken him to Dark and watches as his friend die just because Dark willed him to do so. Dark offers an olive branch in the form of a wish, but should Jack really trust him? Later on, Shadowman wakes up, but now night's fallen and his powers are back. So now Shadowman's a little more in control, not Jack. We're treated to a battle between a zombie and a full-powered Shadowman, and I think I mentioned earlier that Jack's a little unhinged. Being a musician, he breaks into song to mock Dark as he fights and proceeds to battle through the ashes of a burning house. We're left on the last page with Shadowman wondering what deal Jack was offered and if he actually accepted it. So, What do you guys think about this issue? Jared?
It sounds exciting. I wish I'd read it, but Shadowman was a ride, man. It was a trippy ride. A couple of things that I liked that immediately jumped out at me, and I don't know if it said this like maybe on the inside front cover, but I just kind of like jumped right into the story. And just by the art, I was like, I think this is New Orleans, because they were capturing the architecture of New Orleans really well. And I might have missed some obvious clue that said it was New Orleans, but even if I didn't, that's still kudos to the art team, because it's like, hey, I can tell that right away. The other thing that leapt out at me was the colors. They had a much more of a watercolor look to it than most comics at that time, which I thought was neat and unique. Of course, Bob Hall's name jumped out at me, having been neighbors with Bob at a couple of conventions, and he's been nice to us here at the LBC. Good dude. And the other thing that leapt out to me was that squarely puts it in like 1993. We've broken away from Marvel or DC. It just cracks me up because it's just this kind of the same thing that Image did. It's like, hey, we're going to make it a little sexier and racier because we're not Marvel anymore. Like that absolute celebration of things we can do now, which probably seemed really cool at the time. But now when you read it, you're like, oh, this is squarely one of those breakoff books from 19. It really dates it. It does. So I guess it's kind of a negative, but not too much. Otherwise, it was really, really wonky, with the whole music tie-in and all that. It's definitely a lot going on, and we have a lot more people to talk, so I'll leave it there.
Yeah, you could see how they pulled away from the comics code, and they were like, look what we're doing.
Oh, he's having one-night stands and doing naughty stuff.
All right, so Pat, what did you think of the issue?
I agree with Jared. This was a little weird to follow along and figure out what was actually happening with it. I kept going back and like, who's who? What's happening? What am I getting thrown into in this issue? So it was a little off-putting for me, basically trying to read it through. And I felt like I was missing some stuff that I should have known, but not knowing
issues that came out before this.
That could have been it. Yeah, definitely. But like Jared said, too, 1993, we know that is, the start or so on of around that time for Image to get started in that. And so I can see the other things that Jared was pulling out in here was, they're trying to be a little more different than the other two big mainstream companies, a little risque, so to say, going on. Bob Hall, the minute I saw that it was Bob Hall and that he wrote it and was drawing it, I was like, ooh, this is pretty cool. I know Bob, but of course he does some Joe. And right away, whenever I hear Bob Hall's name now, the image that comes to me is him sitting next to us. And we're like, yeah, that's Bob Hall. And I thought, oh, well, that's pretty cool that just, I can picture the guy and have some fond memories of talking with him in that. Yeah.
With his little hat that he wore at some kind of an angle. I'm not sure what kind of an angle it was.
Yeah, he's actually the writer and artist for many of the issues in this series.
Okay.
Like almost the majority from here on out.
I liked the artwork in here, and Jared said that the coloring really plays a difference here as well too. So yeah, it's an interesting story. I just felt I was plopped in and like swimming. I kept going like, where's the edge? I need to find the edge so I can at least have something to hold on to so I can figure out where I am. But I kept swimming around and I couldn't find it.
Alrighty, so Delvin, what did you think of this issue?
I, too, missed a couple of things. I did not know that, Shadowman had night powers. His powers are activated by the night. And I missed also that Shadowman is based out of New Orleans. And I'm like, I've been to New Orleans a time or two, and like, maybe old boy just drank a few hurricanes. And that's really what caused it.
He's like a guy in a gutter somewhere just imagining this whole thing.
Oh,
he wakes up in his vomit and he's like, oh, what happened?
You guys, the first box that says on the page is New Orleans at 11.
Hey, Pat.
What? Yeah.
Shut up.
Okay, sorry. I'm just saying, I knew that.
So I did miss the fact that they tipped it. I was like, oh, look at this architecture. It's clearly.
And to quote Seth Rogen from some movies, like, well, I didn't know that, so I'm sorry.
I know.
So anyway, the story, I did think it was interesting, and Dark was a weird character. But of course, dealing with the voodoo arts, You don't normally find well-adjusted people like with the voodoo. Apologies to anybody listening that's on voodoo. Please do not put a hex on me. I would appreciate that. Thanks. But I have a mother-in-law from New Orleans, so I'm protected. So overall, like it was, I liked it. I liked the artwork. It was intriguing enough that I was like, well, what the heck happened? Because like me growing up in the 90s comics, but like I was the mainstream guy. Like I read Marvel forever. And then once I got to college, started dabbling a little bit in DC, but never really got into anything like Valiant. But it was interesting. And we did cover recently the new universe, which Jim Shooter, of course, tried to launch within Marvel. And we mentioned there about how he always tries to spawn, these new universes. So it looks like at a minimum that with this book, that Shadowman at least had a worthy foe or adversary with Dark, because you didn't quite know where Dark was going with everything that he was doing, but you could tell that he had a few aces up his sleeve that he has not yet played, and that had to be revealed throughout the rest of the series. That would be my guess. And you don't have to tell me whether or not I'm right or not. But yeah, I do appreciate you bringing it.
One thing I will say about Dark, though, is he winds up not just for Shadowman, but basically almost a villain for the entire Valiant universe.
So clearly a powerful foe. And his sister even mentioned as much, that he mentioned there have been actions set into motion that and we all know how this is going to end, or this is going to end bad, something to that effect. He put some ominous portent on there. So good for him.
All right, Jason, what did you think about it?
Couple of things I really liked. I liked the New Orleans venue. Like you, I think it's a good place to tell a dark story with horror elements. Just the history and voodoo and all those elements. It really lends itself to good, scary storytelling. I'm with Delvin. I thought Dark was a very fascinating villain just coming out of the gate. Didn't seem cookie cutterish at all. There were angles. You didn't really know what he was up to. There are just a lot of facets to his character. And then when you pair him off with Sandria, is a really interesting character too. I kind of got the sense she's playing kind of a dangerous game. And I think she may be afraid to get more power because her brother may turn on her at some point. And yet, if she doesn't, then how will she defend herself? I had a lot of questions with her. And she seemed very clever and quick-witted throughout this particular issue. So I'd say she was kind of the hidden gem for me. I was really fascinated by her. Thought the artwork was really good. The action scenes were well laid out. The fight was pretty visceral. I mean, breaking the table and then breaking off the table leg and bludgeoning that dude near death. It was violent. It was dark, and it was interesting. So I had a lot going for it.
All right, so now it's time to rate your interest in the series using the official Crusademas candy cane scale. On a scale of 1 to 12 candy canes, 12 being extremely interested and 1 being no interest at all, how many candy canes would you rate your interest in pursuing more issues of this title? Jared, how many candy canes would you give this?
It's always tough to set the bar here. I don't know what my other guys are thinking. You know what? My gut instinct said it was pretty good. I'll give it a 9. 9 candy canes for me. That's where I will set the bar and see if people will exceed or not.
Okay, Pat, how many candy canes would you give Shadowman issue number 10?
I'm going to be with Jarrett at a 9 as well, too. I think you brought some other information that was very helpful for me, and through everybody else's discussion, it helped me understand things a little bit more. I'm glad that you were here to do that, and I'm at a 9. Would I want to seek out a little bit more? If I had some given to me, I'd read them just to figure out where they go. At that point, yeah.
All right, thank you. Delvin, how many candy canes would you give it, sir?
Yeah, definitely appreciate the extra knowledge you brought. Like when Pat didn't know that the series was set in New Orleans.
I know.
Ridiculous. It was right there on the first page.
I just don't belong here anymore. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay, Pat. We forgive you and love you. But you know what? I will stay with the lads there. I will give it a 9 as well, because I'm intrigued to the point where I need to find one of the mini cons to go to and look for some issues to have for the episodes of Longbox Crusade on my never-ending quest to not bring another Spider-Man book to the original Longbox Crusade, and also just to give the listening audience something different to listen to, of course. But if I run across some Shadowman, I would pick it up and read it, because much like I was with the new universe, I am completely unfamiliar with the Valiant universe. Other than I know there was was Exo Manowar? Was he Valiant?
Yeah, there's quite a few. And
okay, at least I knew something from there.
No, you got it. And the great thing is, you can probably find them pretty cheap in the dollar bin or less.
Yeah, and I mean, heck, that would be kind of the Longbox Crusade's wheelhouse, right? So we would love, so if I ever get an opportunity to check out some Shadowman and pick up an issue for Longbox Crusade, I'd be happy to do so, and I'll keep an eye out for it.
All right, and Jason, how many candy canes would you give this Shadowman issue number 10?
Well, for humor, like I said, it's a dark book. I did laugh once when he woke up and apparently had a little rough fun and tumble with his one night stand there. And I thought it was funny how he's like, that's not me. And she clearly was into it. So I'm like, shut up, man. Just shut up. Take the W, man. I gave that one a 1 for humor. Heart, I'm giving it a 2. I think it's there's definitely potential there. I'd have to read a little bit more to go full 3, but I think 2 coming out of the gate feels right to me. Spectacle, I'm going to go 3. I really like that battle that they had. And then art, I'm going to give it a 3. I really like the art. I thought it was interesting, dark book, but there were some pretty bright colors that juxtaposed it a little bit, which kind of worked for me. So how many was that, Pat? 9. Pat says it's 9, and I'm going to give you 1 for, as always, the enthusiasm, and because you're going to be an easy edit. So I'm going to go 10 for my score. So 10 candy canes from me.
I appreciate that. If you guys want interesting stuff, Valiant tries their best to make the line interesting. I was going to go with a different issue that tied into this one, but you needed this one to set that up, and it would have been even more confusing for you. But like issue 18 has Aerosmith.
Oh, why did we not bring 18, man? Why did it not walk this way?
It was from the Get a Grip era, and basically someone stole Steven Tyler's voice through voodoo, and he had to take the guy out. So that'll give you something to look for if you so choose.
Wasn't that song Voodoo Medicine Man off the Pump album?
Oh, yeah.
If you guys are interested in that or other Shadow Men, if he intrigues you, I'd say give the book a read. Like I told Delvin, you can find it cheap, affordable, let's say. And if you do like the concept, but you want maybe a more modern take, a grittier take, you can go through the Acclaim version, the new Valiant. It's had a lot of different writers, and the concept is roughly the same, but they modernize it a little bit each time. Even if you want to play a video game, there's an N64 Shadowman video game you can track down and play. So
I'm pretty sure I own it.
it's an interesting game. And then if you've never read Valiant, I know Delvin mentioned Exo Manowar, check that one out. And if you're a fan of X-Men, look into basically their team of mutants, Harbinger. Those are some interesting reads.
I may have to give that a look. I've read some Exo Manowar, but I don't know that I've heard of Harbinger.
Harbinger is basically teens developing superpowers after being experimented on, if I remember right. It's done really well. I think with Delvin's love of New Warriors, he might like Harbinger too.
Might be a sign of things to come.
Vocabulary joke.
I like it. I like it. That will wrap up day 5 of the 12 Days of Crusademas. We'd love to hear from you if you're familiar with any of the comics we cover here on the show, or if you gave one of our recommendations a try. Let us know what you think about it. You can reach us on the Twitter/X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and it's all at Longbox Crusade. You can email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com, or you can pick up the phone and call us at 707-532-5269. That's 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
Thank you.
The Shadow phone?
Jingle, jingle, jingle.
And if you're loving Crusademas and didn't get a chance to listen last year, or just want to hear more from Crusademas, if you scroll far enough back on our feed, you can find all the episodes from Crusademas past. Holy cow, we've done this a lot. 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, or even 2017. But grade that one on a curve because we were just getting started, folks. So it's a little dicey, dog.
Nothing wrong with learning as you go. So, everyone, thank you for listening. Be sure to come back tomorrow to find out what the next gift is from under the tree here in the festively decorated Longbox Crusade Studios. Thanks for having me, fellas. Christmas is coming up. We're a few days away. Just enjoy time with your friends and family. Get in front of the fire. Get in front of the fireplace. Make some memories with them and treasure every moment you have with them. And normally, I don't go for jazz music, but seeing as how we're in New Orleans, we got Shadowman. DJ Christados, can you play me a jazzy Christmas jam?
Wickety, 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 whack.